Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of my interviews here with Drip Talk with Blake DeSnake Roberts. Today, I have a very special guest with me for a part two of my interview that I did a while back. He is one half of former WWE tag team The Dicks. He is also one half of the tag teams The Tolands and The Blondes in OVW. He has formerly wrestled for the companies WWE, OVW, NWA, and much more. He is no other than James Dick, also known as Tank Toland. So we'll get him on in here, and then we will start on with this interview.
Jake, what's up, brother?
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How's it going, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Just living the dream.
Yeah,
How your podcast going, by the way?
they're doing great.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, man. I love
Yeah,
seeing all your little little stuff on Facebook and Instagram. That's cool, man. I hope you keep crushing it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've upgraded a lot since our last interview on Instagram. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. You're doing great. Would you upgrade? Did you upgrade any of your like equipment, like mic stuff or
Yeah, I upgraded how I settle my questions, and then I upgraded my setup, my what I
nice?
use for my video platform because I used to
Mhm.
just go live
Yeah.
on like the platforms, but now I use an actual app called StreamYard.
Yeah, I
And
know. I
then
noticed that. That's awesome, dude.
yeah, and then I have this headset and stuff like that. So
Good for you, man. Good for you. That's good. What do your parents think? You think they think it's pretty cool?
yeah, they like that I get to do this. I mean, it's awesome. So
Yeah, and you love that you love wrestling, and I'm sure your parents are happy to see you being able to do something that you're passionate about. That's awesome.
yeah, definitely is.
Good for you, buddy. Well, I'm all yours. So whatever you want to ask me, I'm an open book.
Yep. All right. So I'll start off by asking you my first question. When did you start doing wrestling and what made you want to do it?
Okay. Yeah. So I started wrestling I started wrestling when I was a little kid with my friends and stuff like that. But when I first became a wrestler was back in 2000. So before you were born.
Yeah.
I know I don't look like it. I look so young and vibrant, which I am. But no, but yeah, back in 2000 is when I started, the beginning of 2000, and started at the Monster Factory, which obviously they've kind of come back into the spotlight with their documentary and stuff on Apple TV, and a lot of guys. There's been some people that have gotten contracts and hired with them over the years, and it's definitely one of the best schools in the country that you could possibly learn from. Um, and you learn the proper way, and I think that's awesome. So from when I was there to to where it is now, it's always been a reputable school, and I'm glad that it's still a reputable school, because the guy who's running it now, Danny, he's awesome, and he's keeping it alive, and actually making it thrive, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. What would you consider as a weakness and a strength in wrestling?
A weakness and a strength, man. Well, I would say one of the strengths would be um, your ability to have thick skin, um, and be able to take critiquing. Because when you're starting out in the business, you are very green. You don't really know much, and well, you don't know anything. And then you're wrestling for a while, and you think you might know stuff, but you really still don't know anything. It takes a long time for you to really develop it. So, I mean, you're going to get a lot of people critiquing you, and some people aren't going to be critiquing you so kindly, like a teacher in school would. Your trainers might come at you hard and harsh, And same with people that are, looking at your matches and watching them. They might also be, giving you some hard truth and advice as far as things, but it doesn't always come over so nicely. So you got to definitely have a thick skin, because they might say things in a way that's kind of, if you're soft about it, it could really shut some people down and drive them out. When in the end, it's just, I know they are trying to make you better and stuff. But sometimes in the business, it can be a little harsh. So having a thick skin is definitely going to be a good strength. Also, having a lot of discipline is important. That's if you have great discipline, that's a real big strength, because you have to stick with a lot of things. You got to stick with your training and your dieting, making sure that you're on top of all that, along with just learning, the business, learning the psychology of it, and learning the, also the wrestling, the technical wrestling aspect of it. So there's so many different facets to wrestling that, having a good mindset and having good self-control and determination is very great to have, and definitely would be a really good strength. So yeah, as far as weaknesses go, oh man, if you don't have good time management, that could be a really bad thing, because in the business they say, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late, and if you're late, you're screwed. So you can get a lot of heat, and you can get fired and not get booked other places. Weakness, also, like I said, thin skin. If you have a thin skin and you can't take, criticism, you can't take critique, and you can't take the fans saying you suck, because, I definitely have had the best of both worlds. I've had fans absolutely love me and say that, they love my work, and they love who I am. They love my character or characters. And then on the flip side, I've had people say I'm god awful, and say that my gimmick was the worst in the WWE, and you see all kinds of stuff online, that talk about how terrible it was, and for me, like, it doesn't really bother me. I know that when I was up in the WWE, I wasn't utilized the way I should have been, or the way I could have best been utilized. I couldn't really show my true abilities, my true talents, in ring or on the mic. So I could let that really bother me, where I could just be like, hey, it is what it is. People are going to have their opinions. And, shoot, people don't like The Undertaker. People don't like Triple H. People don't like The Rock and Cena and some of the other greats that have come through, all these times in wrestling. So, you got to have a thick skin. So if you don't, that's definitely a weakness. It's basically just like all the things that are strengths. If you have the opposite, then that's the weakness. That's kind of how it goes, So yeah.
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 What about, is there any time a fan has seen you in public and got like super surprised and or excited?
Uh, yeah, yeah, that's happened. A lot of people have been, surprised to see me. There's been times where, over the years, especially like after I've been off TV for a while, when someone recognizes me, and I'm like on the other side of the country, I know it's not someone I would know. That's kind of interesting and kind of cool. But yeah, that's definitely happened. I think that it's pretty cool when someone does recognize you and says, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You used to write. You were one of the Dicks, or you were Tank Toland, or our Tank Toland." And hey, I liked your stuff, or something like that. That's pretty cool when someone says that, or someone messages me out of the blue. That's pretty cool. I always appreciate that, man. I'm as big a fan of the fans as they are of me. So, because I have such an appreciation for it, because I was such a big fan when I was a kid growing up, and I got to go to WrestleMania 5, and I got to pat Hulk Hogan on the shoulder after he beat the Macho Man, and it was like one of the best moments of my life, and I was such a super fan. And even when I was in college and I was watching, I remember I went to to Philadelphia to see, which was basically like my home area to watch shows because I'm from Jersey. I went to watch one of the WCW Nitros, and it was so awesome because I found out where they're staying after at the hotel, and I went back to the hotel and I saw them all at the hotel bar partying, and I thought it was so awesome because I went and ordered a beer right between Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And then talked to them, and I saw Chris Benoit and talked to Chris Benoit. I got a picture with him that I showed him years later when I was in the business. I said, "Hey man, look, I took this picture with us when I was just a fan." He just thought it was so awesome. Guys like that. I met DDP and all those guys. And it was just so cool to be able to do that. And I told Hogan, I got to work out with Hogan at Gold's Gym in California. And I just remember, I told him the story of how I touched him on the shoulder when I was a kid, and I thought it was so awesome that I had Hulk Hogan's sweat on my hand. I thought it was just the greatest. So I'm such a huge fan of fans being, appreciating me because I was in their shoes. So I appreciate them, and I love them just as much.
Yep. Have you ever wrestled or done anything in Wisconsin before?
No, actually, I have not. I don't believe I have. Wait, no, that was North Dakota. No, North Dakota, Minnesota, all around there, but never Wisconsin. Yeah, no, I never got to be in the cheesehead territory. So, not that I wouldn't love to. I would love to be out there. I know the people out there actually are very nice, from what I understand too. So, yeah, especially compared to Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a company down here that would like to bring you down here sometime, and I've talked to him to bring you down here, and I mean, he seems to be interested, so.
Hey, look, I mean, definitely feel free to pass along my information to him and tell him I'd love to be a part of the show if he wants to bring me out, and tell him I'll burn down the house.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do it. I'll work wherever he wants me to work, and I'd be happy to do it.
Yep.
And I could also run a clinic for him if he wants. So, because I do clinics too, because I used to be one of the trainers at OVW for the amateur class. So I trained a lot of the guys that made it up to TV, and a lot of the divas and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm always happy to lend a hand with knowledge, watching matches, critiquing them, promo, practice, and all that stuff too. So yeah, man. Yeah, just pass along the word that I'm happy to come out if he wants to bring me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you rather join DX, NWO, APA, or BWO?
Okay. I love to be a character, so BWO would be fun because I love that whole thing, and it's so great that was supposed to be a one-time thing, and then it just became this cult like following and a cult, and it's great, and also I got to say, the guys that are in it, they're fantastic guys. I mean, Nova, who's also Simon Dean, Mike Bucci, he's a great guy. He's I worked with him a ton. He's a good friend, and I learned a lot from him as well. Worked for his brother Donnie B in Phoenix Championship Wrestling in Jersey. That's how I first got to meet him and work my way up in the circuit. Yeah, and then Stevie Richards, what a great guy. He's such a super nice dude, man. I mean, in the business, you can run some real jerks and you can run to some real nice guys, and Stevie is one of those really good, nice guys. And then as far as Blue Meanie, man, Brian, it's funny actually. He went to the same high school I did. I knew, he graduated just 2 years after me. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so it's funny. It's funny that two WWE guys came from the high school within a couple of years of each other. So yeah, but that would be fun to be a part of that because I love comedy, just in life in general, but I also enjoy it in wrestling. Even though my character a lot has always been super serious. I mean, that's why I wish I could have made the dicks more fun and more entertaining, but that we kind of got, we kind of got handcuffed on that one. So It is what it is. But I mean, as far as coolness goes, man, that's really tough because, man, I mean that NWO back in the day, NWO NWO Wolfpack with Too Sweet and all that stuff. I mean, that was super cool, man. I mean, did you get to watch a lot of that back in? Did you ever go back and watch some of that stuff?
The NWO and DX stuff, yeah, I went back and I've seen a lot of their stuff. They are just great.
So good, so good. So I mean, like, they're so cool. But on the flip side, DX was, oh my god, man, DX was so freaking cool, man, so cool. I feel like, man, God, if I had to choose between the two, I'm so torn on that, man. It would be a coin flip, really, to be honest. But I mean, if I just had to pick, I'm gonna roll with DX. Yeah, because they
Yeah.
were also, I mean, NWO had some really cool stuff and some funny stuff, but DX had a lot of funny stuff too. I mean, they had the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, and they're doing a lot of goofy stuff. So it was kind of a good combination of being badasses but also funny. So I think I'm gonna roll. I think I'm gonna go roll with the DX.
Yeah. And it'd probably be a lot of fun too.
No, yeah, absolutely. And their music was fire, man. That theme song is so awesome.
Yep. I mean, if Hornswoggle could be in DX, I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, I at least meet the height requirement, right?
yeah.
Hornswoggle's a good dude, man. Good dude.
Yeah. If a movie was made about your career, who would you want to play you?
Woo! Coming with a good question, man. That's such a good question. I mean, obviously someone in incredibly great shape, with striking features, chiseled physique, charisma through the roof. I mean, no, I'm just being silly, but not really. Probably. Um, but yeah, I mean, gosh, man, someone to play me. Kind of, I mean, maybe I'd have to go with a Mark Wahlberg, maybe someone like that. Just, you know, I'm just going off of maybe similar, looks, height type stuff. Um, maybe something like that. Either that or Will Ferrell. Yeah, not
Yeah.
really.
I could definitely. I mean, I
Gru-
could definitely
uh,
see Mark Wahlberg.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, just trying to think of like people who might be like a little slightly similar to me. I was trying to think of anyone else that could kind of, because he's in good shape. Um, and he's kind of got that. I think he's got a similar vibe in certain instances. Yeah, but I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. You got anyone?
Possibly Zac Efron.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's not as handsome as me, but hey, he would do. Yeah, no, Zach Efron. I mean, he got himself in some great shape for sure. You know, but yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, I would take that too. But, but I think in the
Yeah, I
end, I
mean,
just have to play myself. No one could be me like me.
yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. You can't take me serious. I'm just telling you half the time, Blake. So just I'm a clown. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he did play Kevin Von Erich in Iron Claw, so
yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Have you seen it?
no, I haven't
I
actually.
haven't either. I haven't seen it yet, and I want to see it. I just haven't had a chance to see it. I haven't gotten around to it. So I've been watching too much TikTok. Spending time with my
Yeah.
girlfriend watching TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't come down to a movie theater near me, so that's why I can't watch it.
All right. Well, you're in Wisconsin. You're like, where in Wisconsin are you?
I'm in Peshtigo. I'm like 45 minutes away from Green Bay.
Okay. All right. So if you wanted to see it, you'd have to actually take a long trip to Green Bay, if they even have it there.
Oh, well, in Marinette, which is like right next to Peshtigo,
Mhm.
that's they have like two theaters there, and they had plans on bringing that movie to one of the theaters, but I don't think it ever happened. So I don't know what happened to that. But
Well, lucky for us, we're in a day and age where things come out to streaming services pretty quick. So I'm sure we'll be able to watch it sooner than later.
yeah. What would you say has been like a best fan compliment you have received, either like a show or convention or out somewhere?
Hmm. Man, I guess I like it when people say that they like, obviously my wrestling abilities, and they like, they like my finishers. That's pretty cool. Or they'll talk about certain matches where I do certain things, or they like certain things that I like to do in matches that are fun for me, or certain promos I've cut. When people compliment me on that kind of stuff, I got a lot of. I used to get a lot of compliments when I was in Ring of Honor, when I was doing this all natural superior athlete gimmick when I was in this faction called Sweet and Sour Incorporated. That was a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun being a heel there, and because I got to talk on the mic a lot and just do a lot of ridiculous stuff, a lot of vignette stuff with some of my friends that were just great talented guys. And yeah, so whenever people compliment me on my either technical ability or my mic skills, my charisma, whatever it may be, I really enjoy that. I mean, so sometimes you get some nice compliments, and that's always nice to hear, because with every nice compliment, sometimes you get five negative ones, negative statements. So yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, as long as they know me, they know me. So
yep.
sometimes bad publicity or good publicity, it's all the same. As long as you're, as long as you're, you know, as long as you know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And do you prefer being like a heel or babyface in wrestling?
They both have their pros and cons. I tend to like to be the heel, because it's fun for me to kind of play a fun, cocky, brash character, um, and it's fun to be able to go back and forth with the fans. It's fun to do certain things, act certain ways that you can't really do when you're being a baby face, unless you're one of them like baby faces that are like kind of in that gray area, like how The Rock was and Stone Cold was back in the day, and a lot of other guys, over time. But yeah, I mean, babyface is fun because the crowd loves you, and you really you embrace the crowd, and you have a lot of fun with them. And I mean, you have fun with them as a heel too, but just in a different way. But and they're rooting for you, and you can get them behind you. And when you're selling in the match, you can really work them and look to them, and it's like you're getting the energy from them, which you really do. You really do get energy from them in a show. That's like why it's so important when you're doing a show that the crowd's into it and live. And if they're not, you try and get them into it. So because it helps you, and then it makes the show better too. So so it's fun to be a face too. But I think if I had to choose one or the other, I think I want to be the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Oh, I'm getting text from my girlfriend saying you look really hot, and I can't wait to see you. So that's really sweet, isn't it? Right in the middle of the podcast, she must be watching. Hi, Melody. Anyway, go ahead. You may proceed. I love you. And I love you too, Blake.
Which wrestler has given you the best advice and or compliment?
Did you say advice or I'm sorry, the compliment, or was it? Could you repeat the question?
Which wrestler has given you the best advice and or compliment?
Oh, okay. Well, advice. I mean, I've gotten so much great advice from some amazing, top guys over time. Everything from, in-ring stuff to psychology, to, just how to carry yourself outside the business and, on the road and in the locker room and things like that. I've definitely had, a lot of people give me advice and talk to me and help me learn and understand things. So, I mean, that's there's too long of a list for that. Pretty much, all the top guys out there. But as far as compliments, man, I remember when I was at one of the WrestleManias, and I hadn't met Chris Jericho yet, and yeah, I saw him, and I was like, oh man, I was like, I can't, I want to go, I mean, this is when I was still with the company, and I was like, I want to go meet him, because it was, WrestleMania. I hadn't had a chance to meet him yet, and I was like, I'll just go introduce myself, and I said, hey, how you doing? My name's John. Nice to meet you. And he looked at me, he goes, that's not your name. He goes, you're Tank Toland. He goes, and this actually, you know what? I wasn't with the company anymore. I was with Ring of Honor at this point. And I was doing the Tank Toland All Natural Superior Athlete with the faction with Bobby Dempsey and Chris Hero and Sweet and Sour Incorporated, Larry Sweeney and stuff. And I said, hey, nice to meet you. I'm John. He goes, you're not John. He goes, you're Tank Toland. He goes, I love your work. He goes, I'm a huge fan of yours. And I said, get out of here. He goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, the stuff you do with Bobby Dempsey. He goes, you're hilarious, man. He goes, I love your work, man. He goes, you're good, man. I said, thank you very much, man. I said, that's awesome, man. I've always been a huge fan of yours since you were like, the Lionheart Chris Jericho back in, Japan. I thought, I just loved watching him, man. He is so good. And to this day, he's still one of my favorite guys. And if I could wrestle someone, he'd definitely be one of the guys on the top of the list. So yeah, and that was probably one of your questions. But yeah, Chris Jericho, that was a huge compliment when he said that. And I've gotten some compliments from some of the other guys, Undertaker and guys like that. But for some reason, Chris Jericho, it was really just cool because I didn't know that he even knew who I was. So and I was a huge fan of his. So just the fact that he said those nice things, I just thought it was awesome. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Would you have ever tried for MMA, UFC, or any type of boxing?
I just really don't want to hurt people. I go into the business and I just destroy everyone, probably. Yeah, I mean, because I'm a real bad boy, I'm a real bad boy, and I just didn't really want to get into that profession to, just for this, the health and safety of others. Yeah, but yeah. No, I just never did. I be quite honest with you. I love MMA. I did do some jiu-jitsu, and I grew up boxing. Did amateur wrestling, high school, and I love mixed martial arts. It's so much fun to watch. I haven't watched in a minute though. Like I don't have a lot of time to watch TV, but yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun. It never crossed my mind to get into it. My passion was wrestling. And I love being an entertainer, and I don't like getting my face punched all that much, especially like, this moneymaker. I mean, you don't want to mess this thing up, So, but yeah, never stepped into the ring, but I did roll around a lot. I did spar a lot, and did a lot of amateur wrestling. So, and I love it. I'm an athlete, so I love combative sports. I love anything that's a contact sport. Yeah, I mean, but it did cross my mind to step into the octagon just to test myself, Yeah.
Yeah. When you were growing up, were you more of like a shy, quiet kid or outgoing, loud, and excited?
Man, when I was a little kid, I was very outgoing with the people close to me. I was very shy around adults. I had a lot of super a lot of like nervousness to be around them. I had a lot of respect for them, and I saw them as adults. Where a lot of times nowadays, kids don't think the same. I think they're bred a little differently. They're brought up a little differently, so they think half the time that adults are on the same levels as them, and they're not. They're still the adults. They're still the people who have had life experience. So when I was a kid, I really like saw adults as adults, and I was scared to say anything to them. So I was kind of quiet around them, but close with my family and close friends. I would say overall, I probably was kind of a class clown. I was a class clown, but when I was real young, I kind of got bullied. So I was a little bit more quiet at times, and I just kind of I was just careful about who I was outgoing with. Until I stood up to the bullies, and then that kind of went away, and then I was just out and very extroverted and very goofy, and I love to perform in front of anybody. I like to sing at school plays or sing in whenever I could, and I wasn't shy to get to grab the spotlight. If you couldn't tell, that never changed. So yeah. So yeah, I've always been pretty outgoing, except for when I was really young, when I was bullied. That was kind of like a time where I wasn't so much. But yeah, I've always been a goofball. It's a lot of people, I think some people realize like it's hard for me to be serious sometimes. I mean, I have my serious times when I need to be, but overall, I just like to laugh, have a good time, enjoy myself, enjoy life. So we're only in this life one time. So until the next one.
Yep. What would you say has been your favorite venue you've got to wrestle in your career?
I mean, there's really cool venues like the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. Obviously, we got to do a sold out Staples Center out in California, which they don't call it Staples Center now, but I mean, my favorite was really just the Wells Fargo Center, which is right in Philadelphia. And the reason that's my favorite, obviously, is because that's where I grew up going and watching wrestling in Philadelphia. And that was like basically going to wrestle in my hometown. And so it was just so awesome to be able to be in the ring and looking out, because of all the times I sat there in the crowd looking down into the ring and thinking to myself, one day I want to be in that ring one day. And, from the time I was a kid, all the way through college, and yeah. And so when I got to be able to be there and go into that ring and just look out, and it was such a surreal moment. So that was really one of the coolest things I could possibly have ever experienced on the professional circuit. Now on the independent circuit, there's no place I would have rather wrestled than OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling. That arena, that crowd, those fans, that energy, that locker room, the people I worked with from top to bottom, I just loved every one of them. They're a family, and I loved the fans. It was just such a great place to work, and I worked in OVW in a very magical time in the business, and it was probably one of the best possible places you could work. It was the best place you could work as far as like being on the indies and getting under contract. I mean, Ring of Honor was awesome. It was phenomenal. But I mean, Davis Arena at OVW was just, you're always there every Wednesday doing that show, that live show. And it was just a phenomenal experience. So I will take the OVW, the Davis OVW Arena, bar none over anywhere. I don't even care if it's Madison Square Garden. I just love that place. And if I could go back in time and wrestle there, just one more time, I'd love to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Who are 5 wrestlers you would put into the WWE Hall of Fame that are not in there yet that you think deserve it?
Well, Tank Toland. No, I'm just kidding. Man, WWE wrestlers that should be in there. Man, that's really hard. That's a hard question because, like, there's guys that are, wrestling now that I'm sure they will get in there eventually. Um, just trying to think of like guys that should get in there. I really don't know the answer to that question. I'm just trying to think of some people that who are some people that you would put in there?
Well, definitely on the top of my list is Cyndi Lauper. I think she's way overdue.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. She was a really like key part of uh of that WrestleMania. That was, I mean, like everybody remembers her. It was kind of a big deal. I mean, and what's it hurt to put her in? I mean, she was kind of a big deal back then, like with that whole thing, the whole angle and everything. It was really cool. I agree with that. That's cool. Who else you got?
I also got the Nasty Boys and Demolition.
Oh yeah. Wait, Demolition's not in there yet? Hmm.
Nope.
Wow. Wow. The Road Warriors are though, right? They
Um,
have to be. The Road Warriors have to be. I'd imagine they are. If not, they should be. You know. But the crazy thing is
yeah.
that WWE is so weird with tag teams, man. They go so hot and cold with, and this is me saying it as a tag team person, like for many years. It's like I feel like they come and go. Like sometimes they make it important for a couple months, and then they fall away from it. And it's like, and I always say this, when it comes up in podcasts, and it's to me, I think every title should be utilized. It should be important, like the tag team title, the cruiserweight title, the diva title, the intercontinental, the U.S., the heavyweight, whatever hardcore. I don't even care. Whatever title it is, use that. These are tools. These titles are tools to get people over. These are tools to tell stories that are different from just a heavyweight title. I mean, you can have so many different things, so many different storylines going, and get so many more people involved and make so many more people be important. Okay, so I
Yep.
feel like that's one of the places where WWE continues to drop the ball time and time again. And for the longest time, it was just because Vince is an idiot and he lost touch with what is cool and what makes sense for the longest time. Either that, or he just other people were in his ear, or whatever. But I just feel like, or just the writers, were coming from soap operas and other places, and they weren't even true wrestling fans half the time. So I mean, then that again is Vince dropping the ball. So or Stephanie or whoever, But yeah, I mean, I just feel like all the titles should be important, utilized because they're tools to get people over, to get stories over, to get the company over, to get the show over. So yeah. So I don't even know what question you asked me, but I'm just going on my own. I'll pull you in and I'll take you wherever. So I don't even know. So go ahead.
If you could go back in time and tell your younger self something motivational towards being a wrestler or anything else, what would that be?
Man, if I can go back in time, I would probably tell myself to relax. Don't overthink things. Uh, don't take things too seriously. Don't take people too seriously. And stick to your guns. If you're not happy with something, don't do it. Obviously, I wasn't in a character that I was really happy with. But at that point, look, when Vince tells you, "Hey, I want you to be a Chippendale," and your name's gonna be James Dick, basically, you're like, okay, because at that point, like, here I'm in the business. I was, super jacked. I was a really big dude, but I wasn't tall, obviously, and I was just happy to be there, happy to have a paycheck, and happy to be on TV and living the dream. So at that time, I was like, you know, all right, I guess this is what I'm going to do. I wasn't happy about it. I wanted to be Tank Toland, and but at the same time, I thought, well, okay, maybe if I could somehow survive this, I can make it onto the next gimmick. Like so many people have been, you got Dr. Isaac Yankem became freaking Kane, and you got what Dolph Ziggler was being in the Spear Squad, and before that he was like working for Kerwin White, Chavo Guerrero as his lackey, and so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's it's countless how many people got to they started with a crappy gimmick and then they ended up making it something else. So that was like in my mind kind of what I was hoping. I was just trying to survive my time in a tag team with the anchor I had with Chad, and yeah. So I mean, I would tell myself just relax, just don't take things too seriously, but also stick to your guns. And if you're not happy with something, say it, And maybe if I, because in the end, if he said, well, then the WWE isn't the right fit for you, or hey, look, it's either you do this or you're done, then I that would be a really tough call for me because I just want to be there so bad. But like being an adult now, I feel like I wish I had a little bit more courage to stand up and say, nah, that's not me. That's not what I'm going for. So, but then it's a whole thing because then I would have gotten a lot of heat from the boys, and then it gets around that I don't have the right attitude and stuff. So it's such a shitty game that you got to play in the business. It's especially up there, man. And the time I was there's such negative vibes, and it was just a really crazy time. But yeah, I mean, because like I saw guys like CM Punk, man, they kind of wanted to change his gimmick, and like they did with like Colt Cabana and Chris Hero, and a lot of other guys that that were just good talents, and they just ruined them by throwing them into other gimmicks. But CM Punk, man, he was like, nah. He's like, nah. This is me. I'm CM Punk, and it's either that's what I'm doing, or I'll just work somewhere else. And sure as hell, he was CM Punk, and I have a lot of respect for that because he stuck to his guns. Now he came from Ring of Honor and all over the place, and he had a lot more clout than I did, so he could kind of get away with that. But that's really cool that he did that, and he also had Paul Heyman backing him up, hardcore. So that was pretty cool. So but it's just when people can stand up like that, that's good. So if I could go back and tell myself, I would give myself that advice, and I'd give myself some advice on personally, not in ring stuff, but relationship stuff, and I'd change some things, and but yeah.
Yeah. If you got asked now in your career in life to return to the WWE for such as like an appearance, one more run, or a total return, or anything else, would you take up that offer?
I mean, 100%. Absolutely. I would, if I got a chance to get back there just to, even just for a match, it would be great. I mean, I'd love it just because, and then at least I know I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And, when I got released, I mean, I remember the last match I had, it was me and my tag partner versus the Boogeyman. That was my last match in the WWE. And I mean, like I could feel that it was coming to an end just because they were jobbing us out to the Boogeyman. And that's, hey, it is what it is. And I love the Boogeyman. I love Marty. He was one of my writing partners when I was on the road, and he's just such a good guy. And I'm friends with him to this day, and he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal person. But yeah, I mean, like, I didn't know for sure that was my last match, but that was my last match. And, in the business, that's sometimes how it goes. You don't know when it's your last match, just like sometimes you don't know when it's your last day on this earth. But yeah, so, yeah, I wish if I could get one opportunity, I would take it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And it'd be great to see you back. I think it'd be a huge surprise.
Hmm. I think a lot of people would be surprised. I think a lot of people would be surprised saying, "Holy crap, he's back!" And I think a lot of people would be saying, "Holy crap, he's back! Why?" And then the
Yeah.
other people would be like, "Who?" That's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay too. But hey, look, I mean, when it comes down to it, either way, I don't care. I don't really care like what the reception would be from people. I would just enjoy for myself knowing that I'm there and I'm getting a shot to just get back in that ring one more time or for however long, and it'd be a hell of a time. Sure.
Yeah. How did back in the day, how did you and Chad meet and become friends back then? And who came up with the idea of you teaming up with him and having the team name the Dicks?
Oh man, whoo, brother. Um, so I was sitting in OVW and just it was Chris Cage, who was my former tag partner in a tag team called Adrenaline, and we were very successful. We were the tag champs multiple times. We were the top babyface company tag team in the company, and I just remember we're training and then we're just sitting in the stands at the arena, um, during one of our training days, and Dr. Tom was there and he's just talking about different things, and he's talking about sometimes you just got to have the right attitude in the business, and sometimes that's just how you get hired, or that's how you get opportunities. And he's like, hey, take for instance this guy that we just hired, his name's Chad Wicks, and he goes to all the shows wherever he can. He's always one of the local guys to and he's always smiling and saying hi to everybody. And and then finally one day they just said, hey, like, this guy's always around, he's always smiling, he's always got a positive attitude, let's hire him. So that's pretty much how he got his job. And they said, oh yeah, yeah. And Dr. Tom is like, yeah, he's like, he's describing, he's like, yeah, and he's kind of like, looks like Tank, kind of looks like Tank, but with blonde hair. And I said, as if he's that good. As if he's, but no, but that's your dog, not my dog.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Good. It's all good, man. It's all good. What kind of dogs you got?
I have Pug / Sheltie, and then I have Shih Tzu / Chihuahua.
Oh, okay, cool, man. Oh, so two like little rambunctious dogs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, so basically, I heard through Dr. Tom that he got hired, and then Dr. Tom was saying, yeah, it kind of looks like Tank, and I was like, okay, guy that looks like me. And then next thing I know, I'm hearing, they're thinking about putting us two together. And then there you go. And then all of a sudden we became a tag team, and the whole thing was because he came to OVW, and all of a sudden they said, hey, what we should do is we should put them together, and we'll turn Tank into a heel. And the whole premise will be that, like, his cousin Chad is coming. He's in town. He's here. He's becoming a part of things, and he starts to try and tear me apart from my tag partner Chris Cage, and so that was the whole angle. And eventually we got to it. I turned on Chris Cage, and while I was turning on Chris Cage, I tore my bicep, and so I ended up having to. I had to get surgery, but the funny thing is like right when I tore my bicep, like a few days later, the WWE came. Stephanie McMahon came with the writers and other people, and they wanted to bring people up, and so we were wrestling, and we were doing microphone stuff, promos, and wrestling matches for them to see who they liked and who they wanted to think about bringing up. And I just killed it that day. I had great matches. I had great microphone work, cut some good promos. And I remember I was happy with myself. And I went to the back, and I was getting a drink from the water fountain. And at the time, Tommy Dreamer was one of the guys too that was calling the shots as far as developmental. And He came to the back and he said, Tank, I got good news and I got bad news. He said, the good news is that Stephanie absolutely loves you and she actually wants to bring you up right now to TV. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh my God. I was like, awesome, awesome. And he goes, okay, before you get excited, the bad news is that I had to tell her that you tore your bicep and you need surgery, man. And I was like, oh, man, because I was going to be like, I'm not getting surgery. I just want to get to the big time. I just want to go and just do it. But it was the right call. I did need surgery because my arm would have never been the same. And and it's important that I got it done. But I remember I almost felt like I was going to break down into tears in the back, and as I remember, just as I was starting to tear up, Stephanie came into the back. She's like, "Hey," she's like, "You're great. I think you're a fan. Look, and I would love to bring you up right now. And I had no idea that you were wrestling with a torn bicep, and you were phenomenal." And I said, "Thank you." And she goes, "Look, I know you're upset that, I can't bring you up right now." She goes, "But I don't want you to worry. You're safe. You're not going to get released because you got injured. Just get yourself better. Go get surgery. You have to get it done. And then as soon as you heal up and we'll get you back in the mix and we'll bring you up to TV." I said, okay. All right. And that's it. So it was really bittersweet because I got a great compliment from Stephanie. She loved me. She wanted to bring me up. And I thought I was going to actually be able to break away from Chad. But when I ended up, and I had, the funny thing is like when I was after surgery, I never missed a TV show. I was there for every TV show and I was still in every show. I'd be in a wheelchair, wheeling myself out and like saying that Cage attacked me in the back and in the back of this, the backstage area. And, I had some great promos, did some fun stuff. Some of my most fun stuff was when I was in a cast. So it was great still being able to do it. But it was bittersweet because I was so ready to get up there and I was so ready to, get away from Chad. And then when I found out that we're going to go up together, I was like, oh, no. So that happened. And then when we did get brought up together, we were originally not even supposed to be the Dicks. That was not in the plans. The plans were that we were going to go up as Simon Dean's like henchmen, his like lackeys. So we we're going to be like his muscle, and so when we were up there, they said, okay, well, we're going to send you guys in from the crowd. They were like, well, we'll send you guys out from the crowd at the end of these matches, and you just start laying people out. Whoever wins the match, they'll be surprised. You'll attack them from behind and lay them out, and so we did that for a few weeks, and then and they're like, oh, who are these guys? We'd come out in black slacks and a black tank top, and then we'd lay people out. And then one time, I came out with the tank top and the black slacks and laid some people out, and then I just instinctively just ripped my shirt off, and the girls went feral for me, feral. But no, but I ripped my shirt off, and it was just I was all hyped up and all jacked up, had a sweat on, but went in the back, and Vince. I remember I went back and Vince was right there because Vince is usually there when you go through the gorilla position, and he's like, oh man, he's like, oh man, the way you got in there and you just where you're so intense and you just ripped that shirt off. It reminded me of a Chippendale. Next week, why don't you guys come back dressed as Chippendales and we'll see how you look. Got an idea. I was like, all right. And so sure enough, next week, we come back, we're dressed as Chippendales. He's like, I love it. That's great. He's like, we're gonna do something with this. I was like, okay. Stephanie's like, okay, well, Vince wants you to come up with a tag team name, work on it, and then like let us know what you come up with next week. So I'm working on things, bouncing ideas off people, talking to Simon Dean, Mike Nova, and one of the names that came up that I really liked and I thought would be great. I told Stephanie, I said, Stephanie, how about we are the Weapons of Mass Seduction? I said that's such a super cool like wrestling name as far as like it's wrestling, it's tough, but it's like that's like sexy type of thing with the seduction stuff. So she's like, I love it, it's great. And this is out in the ring area where people are warming up, and out of the corner, I heard off of my one ear shot, I heard, hey, why don't we call him the Swinging Richards? And Michael Hayes was out there and he said that. And then next thing you know, he's like, ah, and some people that were kiss asses started laughing because that's what people do in that business. They kiss ass. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go tell Vince that. That's great. And so next thing you know, Stephanie looks at me. She goes, don't worry, I'll handle this. And, next thing you know, it's like 10 minutes before I'm going out for my match. And she comes up to me. She says, okay, well, here's the thing. You're not the swinging Richards. That was too close to Stevie Richards. Then they were talking about making you the swinging Dicks, and that's just too on the nose. So, yeah, you guys are going to be the Dicks. And that's like, oh, great. I was like, that's just fantastic. I was like, it's like, for me, I was like, it's bad enough I got to be a Chippendale. Now it's like, now I got to be called the Dicks. And I said, Stephanie, is there any way we can spell it like DIX? And they said, no, we talked about that. It's too close to DX. And they said, and you're not going to be John Dick because because there's already John Cena. And I was like, all right. And so she's like, so you'll be James Dick. And I felt like saying, why can't I be Tank Dick? At least make me Tank Dick because that's kind of cool. So, but yeah. So anyway, that's how the Dicks became the Dicks. And that's how I got linked up with Chad. And that is the answer, a very long answer to your question.
Wow. That was really interesting. Honestly, I would have liked to seen Big Dick Johnson, Krista Joseph as your guys' manager. That would have been great.
That would have been. Yeah, I think he started doing that, like a little after I think we were gone, actually. Or maybe it was right around we were getting ready to leave or we just left, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chad told me that you guys were there, but he was there as a producer while you guys were there.
Yeah, he was doing like writing, or I think he was one of the writers or something like that. Him and Lagana and some of the other guys. Freddie Prince Jr. was one of the writers at the time. A few other guys, people that were from soap operas and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people with terrible ideas for the most part.
So, if you don't mind telling everyone, why and how did you and Chad have a fallout and don't really get along now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a really quick version because that's honestly that could be like an hour-long story. But basically, what it came down to was Chad was very young. Chad did not, and still probably to this day does not take advice or listen. I don't know if it's because he's crazy, he's dumb, he's got a little bit of a specialness to him. Something's off with him. But he just doesn't get it. And when I would try to give him advice and he wouldn't take it, it ended up turning bad. So basically what happened was we were the Dicks, and he wanted to start learning how to dance more like a Chippendale, which is totally cool, fine, whatever. But he started dancing with this guy named Yanni, and going over to his house at all hours of the night. And I remember it was right before we were leaving for Mexico for a tour. And it's like we're in the Louisville airport and we're getting ready to board the plane. And he's like, Tank, take a look at this. And I was like, dude, you look like crap. He's like, I was up all night, man. And he's like, but like, hey, take a look at this. And he shows me a camcorder, and he shows me a video of him and this guy dancing like seductively. And I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, and it looked really odd and not the kind of thing you'd want to show the boys. And because in the business, you're just going to get destroyed, especially during that time. They weren't as kind, and society wasn't as kind as it is now and accepting of things. So basically, he stayed up all night dancing with this guy, and he video recorded it. And he's like, man, you should come with me next time. We could really learn some stuff from them. And I'm like, dude, I don't feel right about it. That's just weird. It's just kind of weird. I feel weird about it. He's like, oh. And I was like, well, I said, but here's the thing. Don't show anyone that, because you're going to get buried. They're going to bury you. And then you're going to get buried. So that's going to come back on me because we're tag partners. And then we're both going to have heat. And so I was like, just do me the favor, don't show anyone. Sure enough, we're in Mexico. We're in one of the locker rooms, and I just see the camcorder being tossed around from one guy to another to another. They're all laughing all the way. It makes its way all the way up to the Undertaker. I see the Undertaker looking at it and see him. He just like looks at it and just shakes his head. And he's like, he just hands the camcorder back. And Chad the whole time is like, yeah, cool, right? And I'm like, oh my God, this guy. So next thing I know, it's like, now I get called that night. I get called on the phone to come down to Wrestlers Court. Actually, they didn't tell me it was Wrestlers Court. They're like, "Hey, come down to the catering." So I went down to the catering, and there's a table of wrestlers, a whole bunch of pretty big guys, Randy Orton and Animal, and no, was Animal there? I don't know if Animal was there. Orlando Jordan, Bradshaw, Undertaker, of course, Benoit. I'm sure I'm forgetting. But anyway, bottom line is some big name guys. And bottom line is I walk in, there's one chair next to Undertaker, and I sit down and ask for a beer, and he's like, "Here, yeah, sure, have a beer." Okay. So because if you don't ask for a beer, they're going to make you drink your face off. So I was like, okay, if I just ask for a beer, I could kind of nurse this thing and kind of be cool. And so they said, "Hey, Tank," they said, "if your cousin Chad wants to be, if Chad wants to," and he's not really my cousin. If Chad wants to, go and dance with, these guys to become a better wrestler, to become a better character for you guys and make the gimmick work, he goes, "Why wouldn't you want to do that?" And I was like, "Man, Chad just buried me." So I said, to be honest with you, I paused and I said, "To be honest with you, I don't know, man. I just felt like it was kind of gay. And that's not my thing." And there was a pause, silence, and I was sweating my ass off. And they're like, "You're goddamn right." Pardon my language. They're like, "You're GD right. Chad, admit you're gay. Admit you're, a fag," and all this other stuff. I'm trying to make this as uncursing as possible. Sorry. But basically, they threw a lot of insults at him that are not acceptable. They bullied the crap out of him. He brought it on himself, even though he shouldn't have been bullied. He still brought it on himself because I told him, "Be careful what you do." And when it came down to it, he was not listening, as he never did. And it led to basically them making him cry. And then they are telling him, "You need to stand up for yourself." And then it all ended up leading to him trying to pretend to fight me by he's like, "You're going to listen to me from now on, blah, 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 blah." And then he's throwing his hand back like he's going to hit me. He's like, he winks his eye and he says, "Go with it." Like he lips, "Go with it." But the boys saw him and they're like, "Are you trying to plan a fake fight? This is what we do for a living. You can't plan a fake fight." And so they start laughing at him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now this is after like an hour of just destroying him, hour, maybe even more. And then finally I'm like, "Hey, look, mind if I go to the bathroom?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So I go to the bathroom. As I'm finishing up in the bathroom, Chad comes busting in and says, "Hey, Tank, you got to help me. You got to help me. Please, 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 please help me." And I was like, I can't help you. And I walk out of the bathroom. I was like, "You buried yourself." And so as I'm walking out, the boys are walking in. And so I walk out and their elevator's right there next to the bathroom. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to stand here next to the elevator. Hopefully we could just be done the end of the night. I can go to my room, go to sleep." So he comes out and he literally gets on his hands and knees and starts begging me. He said, "Tank, please, 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 looking up at me, please, please, let me hit you one time." I said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "If I let you hit me one time, then I'm going to be the wussy. I'm going to be, I'm going to be the weak one. I'm going to be under the bus." I was like, "I can't do that." I said, "Don't get any crazy ideas because, I don't want to hurt you." And I said, "So you're going to have to figure it out." And I'm like, meantime, he's still begging me. And I'm like, "Where are these guys?" I was like, "Why are they still in the bathroom?" Sure enough, he locked them in. He locked all the guys in except for one. And the Undertaker was like pulling on the door and he's just like, can't get out. And he's like, "Little bastard locked us in." And they all thought it was hilarious. So we went from being under to getting over with the boys. They loved him. And then Orlando Jordan wasn't in the bathroom. He unlocked it and let him out. They saw him on his hands and knees begging me. And so he went from up here, then he went right back down there again. And so he was really upset. And it was the end of the night. We're all in the elevator. They're just pushing him, shoving him, knocking him around like a pinball. I felt really bad for the guy, even though he didn't listen to me. And so I took him back to his room, and I just made sure that he was okay, because I was really worried for his like emotional health at that time. I just like, because he was never like a stable guy to begin with. There's just very something off with him, and I don't know what it is. It's probably a multitude of things, So, but in the end, he's still a person that has feelings, no matter how messed up he is. And I felt bad for the guy. Even though he's totally burying me and getting a lot of heat on me. So I would made sure he was okay and wasn't going to like hurt himself or anything like that, because I didn't know, man, at that point. He was so distraught. And then, he apologized to me, and he's like, I should have listened to you. And then the next day, it's like, it's just more the same, being, not smart about things. Got called down again. That night we're in Mexico City, got called down again. Benoit called me on the phone and said, hey, your partner's, being crazy again. Get down here to the catering. This time when I came down to catering, it was the whole company. It was everyone that was on the road, from the cameramen to the roadies, all the way on up to the top, except for, Vince and, whoever, because they weren't there for that. And sure enough, like, there's everyone there, all the workers, all the wrestlers, and then there's one table with one seat open next to the Undertaker for me. And I sit down, and I said, hey, can I have a beer? Yeah, sure. Have a beer, sit down. Chad's doing his thing. And I said, Chad, stop. I said, I don't want to hurt you. And, I know he didn't want to do it, but, I felt like they were just bullying him so much. He felt like he had to. And I was leaning back on two legs of a chair, having a sip of beer, and Bradshaw says something to me, and I turn. And when I turn to look at him, he hits me. I go rolling off the back of the chair. He puts me in a front face lock. I get up, break out of it. I said, now I got to hit you. And I just smacked him. I smacked him really hard across the face, and I was like, okay, hopefully that's enough, and we don't have to do anything more. And so I literally sat back down as if nothing had ever happened. I said, I'm sorry, Bradshaw. What was it that you're saying? And everybody just started laughing so hard, because like, oh my God, Chad, you just cheap shot at Tank. And then he got back up and broke out of your hold and smacked you like a bitch, And he goes, and they're like, just like, they just thought it was hilarious that I just like totally no-sold his shot and just smacked him like a little baby. So I was like, oh man, I was like, all right, well, that wasn't exactly what I was going for, but hopefully it's over. So Bradshaw's laughing. He's like, Tank, I got to toast you on that one, man. And so he's holding out his beer, and I'm just like, oh my God. It's like, okay. I was like, well, Chad knocked the beer out of my hand, so I don't have Taker in the middle of my sentence, like, take mine. I'm like, oh geez, okay, Mr. Taker, I'll take your beer. So I take his beer, and I'm going to toast Bradshaw. And as I'm doing it, out of the corner of my eye, I see Chad winding up with a shot, and I stop. I'm like, whoa, and he sees me, and he's like, he's like, psych, and I'm like, and people are like, psych. I'm like, psych. And they're like, you were about to cheap shot him again, and I'm like, okay, I don't want this to bubble up again and get crazy. So I was like, I'm just gonna forget it. And I go to toast him. I go to toast Bradshaw, and all of a sudden, wham! He hits me again. Now I just stumble back a couple steps, and then I'm like, I put the beer down. I'm like, see, now I got to kick your ass. And like, I was just seeing red, and he's begging off like, no, like, his best Ric Flair imitation, probably best work he's ever done. But I was in another place, and I just went wop wop wop, and I broke his nose, busted his eye, and put his teeth through his bottom lip, and in the process, I also sliced my finger open on his teeth, and down to the bone, tore a tendon and everything. But I just laid him out, and he was snoring, and and yeah, and then they pulled me off them because I was just at that point I was ready to start ground and pounding, and but luckily they did pull me off. And then they yanked him up, and I remember I'll never forget. He's wearing a white shirt, but it was like just all covered in blood, and he's just leaking, and I remember it was a couple of guys were holding him up on each side, and he's like barely up and with it. And they're like, get this guy out of here, get him out of here. He's a disgrace. He disgraced to the business, blah, blah, blah. And then they came over to me and they're like, and I remember Taker saying to me, he's like, hey, look, man, your tag team partner, he's an idiot. You do not like him. He goes, but he said, you're one of the boys. You're one of the boys. You're cool with us, man. We're not going to bother you. We're not going to, you're cool with us now, man. And I was like, all right. And then I was like, I'm just looking at my finger, and I'm like, I really, what I wanted to say was, screw off, man. You guys are assholes. Pardon my French. But and then Dr. Rios, who was the doctor, the WWE doctor on the road, he ended up stitching me up right in front of everybody. He's like, hey, who wants to see me repair a tendon and stitch him up? And everyone's like, yeah, I do. So I had all the guys like standing around me while I'm like getting my finger worked on. And I just remember thinking like, all right, don't be a wimp when he's giving you stitches. Don't cry. So yeah, but that was the night that all went down. So I know a lot of people have heard that a million times, as I've told it a million times. But yeah, that's the shortest version I could basically give you. So yeah.
Wow, that's probably like the best story I've heard. Wow.
It's okay. Yeah, I wish it never happened. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I wish you guys could like get back together. I mean,
yeah, that makes one of us. So no, he's too disturbed. There's something going on with him. I'm not sure what it is in his life. I don't know what probably didn't have a good family situation, or I'm not sure. He just doesn't seem well adjusted, and he seems lost. And I know if you go to his TikTok, you'll see he's doing a lot of preaching of the Bible and stuff. And I think he's just trying to find his path or whatever it is. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know if it's that or if that's a smokescreen for whatever else, because I had never trusted him too much. He always came across really shady to me. He didn't seem genuine with his smile and his happiness. And it just seemed like it was a cover for just being shady. And I hate saying that, but that's just, and I'm not the only one that says that, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying that I just think he's misled in a lot of ways, and that could be from just the life he's had, and maybe he's not the most intelligent person in some aspects or something. I don't know. Could be just emotional development. I don't know, but I tried to be like a big brother in some ways, or but you can only do so much. So
yeah. So to finish off the interview, I'm gonna ask two more questions.
yeah, sure.
What is one thing you would tell your fans?
Don't bother me. I don't have time for you. All right. Just go watch my videos. Go watch whatever stuff I used to do, but I don't have time for you now. I'm way too good. I'm way too important. And yeah, just leave me alone already. No, I love my fans, obviously. Of course, I would tell my fans that I have all the love and appreciation for them. I think they really helped me a lot of ways too, because especially OVW, like I said, like they really showed a lot of support, and that in turn gave me a lot more confidence about myself and my abilities. And wherever I went, I had a lot of like fans give me a lot of appreciation. So I appreciate them just as much as they appreciate me, as I said earlier. And I'd just say thank you for taking some time out of your life to watch me do what I love, just like I used to watch all the people that I loved. And yeah, I mean, I'd say, feel free to hit me up and say hi if you want. I'm on, different social media platforms, not extremely active on them, but I'm there. I answer emails when I get around to it, or messages or DMs, whatever you want to, whatever you crazy kids call it nowadays. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd always just say thank you. And I'd also say there's a lot of fans out there that they want to be in the business. And some of them are just kids, and some of them are, people that don't know how to break into it or don't know what to do or what path to take. But I'd say a couple of things. One, if you want to do it and you really make sure you really have the passion 100%. You have to be 100% committed to this, because it's a business that no matter how hard you try and no matter how much you give it love, it doesn't necessarily give you the same love back. And it's not something it's really hard to make it. It's really hard to make it. But so that's why you have to have 100% dedication and passion for it, because it can spit you out so easily, even if you have the most driven desire and passion. It could still just chew you up. And the other thing I'd say is believe in yourself. I mean, even though it's really super hard to make it, and there's so many great talented people that never made it to the big show, never got up to the big time, but they're just phenomenal. It's just sometimes that's just part of it. But I'd say that still believe in yourself, because you just never know. You don't know what they're looking for. You don't know, like, especially nowadays, man. I mean, like when I was in it and the times before me, there were so many people. It's mainly like, you usually had to be like a big guy, muscular guy, but now it's like they got all kinds of people in there now, and they got all kinds of gimmicks. And so I would tell them, hey, look, you never know what they're looking for. You never know. I mean, look, like Hornswoggle had a very successful career. You got guys that are up there that are super skinny. Like, look at CM Punk. He's a phenomenal worker, but he's not a body guy. He's not like someone that's in great shape. And then you have guys that are like, Kevin Steen and other guys. Like, he was such a good worker, but he was never a body guy. And he's even told, like, you can't make it in the business looking like that. Well, he did, didn't he? So you just, there's a lot of people that are out there that, I think talent comes in all shapes and sizes, all types of personalities. So go for it. If you're a fan and you want to do it, do it. But my last piece of advice for fans would be do it properly. Don't go getting into backyard stuff or getting trained by someone who, has had a couple matches and then all of a sudden they think they know what they're doing, or they've had matches, but they never really learned themselves. Go to a place to get properly trained, go to an OVW, go to, a Monster Factory, or anywhere that you can go, that you can get to, and where you can get properly trained. That would be my other piece of advice. So yeah.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, because I usually ask everybody, do you have any advice for me to become a wrestler, because I want to become a wrestler.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, dude, I was just like you, so I get it. I mean, my advice to people is just like I said before, with the passion and working your butt off. But like, even though it doesn't necessarily matter, I mean, it matters, but I mean, like, you never know what they're looking for as far as the type of body, the type of personality, and also charisma goes a long way sometimes. So I would say that you never know what they're looking for, but I will say that it's a physically demanding job, and you have to be in the best shape you can be. So no matter if you're a skinny person, a fat person, or anywhere in between, train your butt off, work hard, because you're still going to need to get in that ring. And it's not like you have to be the strongest person, but you got to be in good physical shape to be able to go 5 minutes or to go a half an hour or however long they want you to go. And I would say that that's a very important thing. So training is very important in the gym. And then also, equally important is if you really want to do it, dive into wrestling and its history, learn all about it, learn about the history of the business, learn, um, all of the people that came before you, because there's a couple important things about that, and that's you learn the history, and you'll have more respect from other people, other workers. You'll also learn and see all these other guys that back in the day what they did and how they worked. Because if you watch all the old stuff, it's great because there's a couple reasons. One is you don't want to do all the exact stuff that people are doing now, okay? Because then you're just going to look like everybody else. So sometimes it's good to go back and dig in deep and see what other people used to do, characters, charisma, um, different angles, see what they did with the wrestling, and how they wrestled and how they sold and how they took bumps and all that kind of stuff. And then like take things from the old people, because a lot of the people now, like there's nothing new really anymore. I mean, it's like everything's been done one way or another. It's just variations of it. But I will say that, like, if you could take some of that stuff and make it into your own and become your own person, bring some of your own person into that, your own personality, that's really important. And I'd say like that's another thing, like being yourself, just turning it up the volume is one of the best things that you could do. Just, be you, but just amp it up. And I'm not saying you can't bring flavors of other characters and stuff, but just try and make it your own. Because for you to try and 100% be someone else, it's hard. But if you could be a amped up version of yourself with like little flavors of other things coming in there as your own, that's really how I think you can really make yourself a good character and get yourself over. So that's another part of it. And then the last thing is to really have an understanding of the psychology of wrestling. It's because I think a lot of that is lost. I think, or they just don't have the right psychology. A lot of it's just like how many moves can we get in that look really cool, and that's important to know that you got to have things make sense. It doesn't matter how cool it looks if it doesn't make sense in the match. It's just really kind of taking a crap on the show, on the other wrestlers and the business. But that's the way it goes a lot nowadays. A lot of no selling. So I think there should be more selling in the business. People are nipping up from freaking taking a finishing move like it's nothing, So it's like you just got a DDT, but you're just you're bouncing up like it doesn't hurt, which is crazy. And I just feel like it. I mean, we all know it's sports entertainment. We know that it's a more of an exhibition than a competition, but at the same time, we're also trying to make this, somewhat realistic. It's still a athletic soap opera when it comes down to it. And you're telling a story. You want that story to make sense. And if I was watching a movie and I saw a guy get shot in the head and then he gets up and like it doesn't faze him, that's kind of gonna take me out of the movie. So I think the same thing. If all of a sudden you're seeing someone take a power bomb off the top rope and then just getting up and hitting someone with their finisher, it's like it's wasted. So yeah. So those are all the little things I'd say. I hope you took notes. Go back and watch this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, man, and like, yeah, if you want to do it, just do it. I mean, you're how old now? Are you 16?
15. I'm almost 16 in July.
Right. Yeah, I knew you were right around there. So yeah, dude. I mean, do it, man. Do it. I mean, if that's what I mean, and hopefully people will be supportive around you. I was lucky enough to, even though my mom didn't want me to jump in the ring and get hurt, and I had a college degree, she was still very supportive, and I had a supportive family around me, so that's good. So hopefully you can have some good support around you too. It seems like you got a good group of people around you, so that's good.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking your time out to do this part 2 of the interview. It was a pleasure to have you on here again.
Blake, you're the man, of course, buddy. And sometime maybe down the road we can share some more stories or something like that.
Yeah, I'd love to continue more stories of your wrestling career. So yeah,
Yeah. And anytime you got any questions about wrestling or getting into wrestling or anything like that, man, you can hit me up.
yeah,
Cool, man.
thank you.
Absolutely, buddy. You're a friend.
Yeah,
Cool, bud.
and I hope. All right, I hope you have a good rest of your night, sir.
Thanks. It's Tank. Tank. Just call me Tank. It's all good, man.
All right.
Blake the Sneak. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Late.
Bye.
Bye. And we're